very, very complicated world that we're living in. Nobody can be fully summarized or explained in simple terms. So I think an important thing to accept is that it is not, and this is actually an idea that I got from Adventure Time that remains a lasting value of mine, but it is not our job to understand everything and figure everything out. You just you gotta respect it, you know? You don't have to understand it or figure it out. You just gotta respect it. That's how I feel. Truth bomb. That's just me though. Just like people are complicated and different, the way that we respond to and feel about these things are also different. So it's totally cool if you disagree. Or if you do agree, but like in a slightly different way, or yeah, there's no one right or one wrong way to feel about anything. However you feel is just how you feel. I think what matters is how you respond to that. It's one thing if you pass judgment on people based on their experiences, but it's another thing entirely if you treat them differently because of that, you know? Yeah, you cannot control how you feel completely. You can absolutely control your response. Or I guess the words I normally use would be, your reaction is usually instinctive. Your reaction is something that you're kind of raised into, actually. I think your reaction reflects your experiences, your history, your upbringing. Your response reflects you. I hope you can remember that, actually. If you ever feel bad about something, if you ever make a mistake, if you ever have a thought that you don't really agree with, I think your initial reaction and your initial thought reflects, you know, your home, your region that you live in, your parents that raised you, your experiences in school, in life, in childhood and adulthood. That reflects those things rather than you. Your response reflects you. Your response is what makes you who you are, you know? We are not described by our initial reaction or by our worst mistakes. When I say a media landscape where we want everything to be black and white, what I mean is that I feel like most shows, most video games, most films, you know, most forms of creative media, we have characters that are very clearly presented as, this is a bad guy and you are supposed to hate him from the beginning. Or this guy, he's a super good guy and he's always doing his best, and you have his entire perspective. You know every thought he has. You can hear his thoughts. You know what he's intending to do. So you're gonna love him. You know, that just by the way that we write and plan things most of the time, that's what we're kind of conditioned to. So when you experience media like this, where the characters are just kind of presented in an impartial, neutral way, even in the characters that would be more conventionally considered to be good, pretty much consistent flaws and red flags, it can be a bit difficult to form a nuanced opinion, you know? Morally gray, you could say that. I wouldn't call these characters particularly morally gray. There might be a couple, but what I mean is that in the real world, no human... Here's how I'll describe it, because I mentioned black and white. All black would be like, you are all bad, you're all impure intentions. Everything you do is bad, and everything you are is bad. And then there's all white. Everything you do is good. Everything has a good purpose and is justifiable and reasonable. And there's no room for anything else. That's what I mean by black and white. In the real world, that does not exist. Even the best people in the world, if you were to do a comprehensive ranking of people, which I don't think it would ever be possible, even if you did a full, thorough ranking of everybody, even the people at the top of that ranking doing the best things would have a little bit of bad stuff in them, you know? Everybody has a little bad. Even the worst, you know, most heinous criminals and villains, you know, that's still somebody's child. They're still gonna have some good, at least. It's impossible to have somebody that is 1000% one thing, rather than a mix of a complicated assortment of experiences and perspectives and decisions. And like I said, at the end of the day, I think most people are just doing the best they can. Their best might not always be what everybody else needs, but people generally just want to give it their best effort. At least, maybe a more realistic way to put it would be do whatever makes the most sense for them at the time. Yeah, being nice does not necessarily mean being good. Being good does not necessarily mean just being really nice all the time. These are very different ideas. Yeah, people are just very complicated, and that's something that I really like about this game, and something that I love discussing with you about this game. And to be clear, if you disagree, I think that's a good thing. I think it is good to disagree with people. I think disagreement kind of open the floodgates to deeper and more like a more comprehensive understanding of most things. I think discussing it in the context of video games kind of gives you some safety perspective, almost some like it's kind of like experimenting with these ideas as they apply to real people in a way that is safe and free from consequences, you know? Like if you pass really strict judgment on Elliot here, if you're like, that is a sicko who lives in a creepy little cabin and I don't like him, at the end of the day, he's just an imaginary character, so like he's not gonna get hurt by that. You know, this doesn't hurt anybody. Now, it might hurt somebody in the real world who lives exactly like him or acts exactly like him. That might hurt their feelings a little bit, but at the end of the day, you can say whatever you want about these characters. You know, it's just a simulation.